Good evening and welcome to Town Meeting Television. We'd usually say we're coming to you live from our studio, but tonight we're coming live from our homes. We're excited to welcome you to the South Burlington City Council Candidate Forum. This is one of the many forums that Town Meeting Television is bringing to you in advance of the first weekend in March 2nd, 2021, which is Town Meeting Day. And as you know, Town Meeting Day is a day when Vermonters go to the polls or hopefully perhaps mail in an early ballot to weigh in on local issues and candidates that are going to represent you in the future. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you to get to meet those candidates and hear those ideas that they're presenting to you on the ballot. If you're watching this live, we welcome your call-in questions and comments. You can call in at 802-862-3966. Again, that's 802-862-3966, and we welcome your calls. If you're streaming this in some other methodology, know that you can watch Town Meeting TV live on Comcast channel 1087, also Burlington Telecom channel 17 and 217, as well as Town Meeting TV on YouTube. So with that, I'm very excited to welcome our two candidates for the South Burlington City Council seats. We have David Kaufman, who's an incumbent, a recent Fred Tuttle Award winner. I was noting, David, welcome. And we also have Matt Cota, who's challenging for the seat. Not Matt's first hat in the ring in terms of council races in South Burlington, but welcome, Matt. Candidates will ask you both to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you are running and why you think you're the best candidate for South Burlington. And if you could keep your answers tonight to around 2 minutes, that'd be great. Give a good shared time. So David, we'll start with you. Okay, thanks. And hello, everybody. And first, before I begin, I'd like to say, as a city councilor, after the events of this past week at University Mall, I want to express my gratitude and admiration to our South Burlington Police Department and the neighboring agencies for the rapid response to the shooting incident at the mall. This is a perfect example of why we need consolidated dispatch and ensuring that any emergency is responded to immediately. Right now, we run the risk with limited dispatch of not being able to meet an immediate need. And just so folks know, your city council has been strongly behind this, and that work is in progress. And I just wanted to begin with that. But in a nutshell, I enjoy my work as a city councilor most of the time. There are some contentious times. I think I'm good at representing the community as a councilor, and lots of residents have expressed their gratitude for being able to represent the city and the residents in a fair manner. After 44 years, which is amazing how fast time flies, in South Burlington, I participated in the evolution of the community through my legislative work, having served 5 terms in the General Assembly, participated in the creation of the Cairns Arenas, which is arguably the best public-private partnership you could find anywhere. It's worked spectacularly well, and our overall recreational programs, as well as working with the city on a variety of topics over the period. And I want to be clear today that my sole agenda as a city councilor is working to ensure that our great city has a future that is sustainable socially and culturally, embracing all diversity. Environmentally, we must preserve our most valued natural spaces, and economically, encouraging business growth. And with that comes the essential affordability of living here, all supported by city management that's committed to our success. And so we're in pretty good shape, and I'm excited about it. And I'm pleased with the decisions our city council has made. Our fabulous new community library and city hall are nearing completion. Interim zoning is close to coming to an end. And a variety of other topics we've got in progress and projects we have in the works. And being right in the middle of many of them, I want to continue until at least seeing some of them through to completion. Bottom line is, it's enjoyable, and I'd like to continue to do it for a while longer. Thanks.
Thank you, David. Matt, we'll go to you.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you, Seth. My name is Matt Cota. I'm running for South Burlington City Council. My background is in public policy. I was appointed twice by the South Burlington City Council to the Development Review Board, and I was elected twice by my fellow board members to be the chair of that committee. Together, we enforce South Burlington zoning regulations, and we facilitate a public process that allows everyone in the city to participate in what our city looks like and how it works. We also mediate conflicts between neighbors. I also mediate conflicts here at home. I have 2 teenagers, bright, curious children who have thrived in South Burlington's public school system. But when I'm not raising my family or volunteering here in South Burlington, I work for a not-for-profit organization that trains truck drivers, plumbers, and heating techs. I'm a resource on energy policy and regulations at the State House and an advocate for fuel assistance for low-income Vermonters. I think it's important that we focus tonight and throughout the campaign, not on our differences that we have in our community, but we highlight what we all have in common. You know, we all want clean air. We all want clean water. We want to ensure safe roads for our cars and trucks and buses and our pedestrians and our bikes. We want development that enhances both our economic viability and our quality of life. We want to maintain our infrastructure and ensure access to emergency services, and we don't want property taxes that are so high that people can't afford to live here. I firmly believe that we can work together to ensure economic vitality and affordability to support diversity, equity, and inclusion in our city. And that's why I'm running for city council.
Thank you, Matt. So move to our first open question. South Burlington has a unique relationship in that a city owns an airport that's actually located within the boundaries of your own city. Could you talk a little bit about the city's relationship with the airport? And could you also touch on whether you think it's appropriate that the Burlington charter change adds Winooski to the, having a seat on the charter or the airport commission? And then could you also talk a little bit about what you're hearing from constituents about the F-35 and the basing of that jet here? And Matt, since we started with David last time, we'll start with you first.
So yes, Burlington, the city of Burlington, not South Burlington, has that charter change, and certainly Winooski deserves a voice. Understandable. When it comes to South Burlington, you know, we spent a lot of money over the past several years in battles over the F-35, and those have come with a direct cost and with indirect costs, legal fees, and divisions within our community. We should be focused on mitigating the impacts instead of trying to oppose something which we really didn't have a say over. We can work collaboratively with the airport, and we have, and with neighboring cities like Winooski and Burlington and Williston on noise mitigation strategies. As city councilor, I will continue to do so. You know, your question, Seth, when I listen to neighbors talk about, you know, the airport, the Vermont Air National Guard, you know, I hear a lot of support for the Guard's mission and for the people that work here. I also hear about the noise. Absolutely. The airport and the base are important partners to South Burlington. They bring jobs and opportunity and will for decades to come. But I understand that there is an impact, particularly those that live near the neighborhood, particularly those in surrounding communities that are in the flight pattern. You know, I support Burlington's sound mitigation project, which will help both soundproof and weatherize homes inside this high noise area. And I also like to say that as chair of the DRB and the rest of my board members, we helped develop in concert with the airport a master landscape plan, which over the next few years will greatly improve the area immediately surrounding the airport and the neighborhoods in South Burlington.
And David, we'll go right to you with the same question.
Okay, and honestly, wouldn't disagree with anything that Matt has said. I think we're pretty much on the same page with that. The council, folks probably know, recently passed a memorandum of understanding supporting Winooski's participation on the airport commission. It's only fair, and I should note, and folks may or may not know, the airport commission really has no final decision power to make recommendations. But the 3 communities that are impacted the most are Burlington, South Burlington, Winooski. And you know, and the commission facilitates communication, and hopefully, and it does have a positive impact, as Matt mentioned. We were advocating for no more home removal, securing great progress on noise mitigation. The FAA grant to upgrade Chamberlain School's HVAC system, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning is a prime example. That's gonna make a big difference. But the fact is, as Matt has noted, there's not much we're going to do about changing the operation of the airport or the F-35s. I certainly hear from people about concerns, probably not on where I live in town, probably not as much as the folks in a direct flight path. One of our kids used to live in Winooski and was right in the direct flight path. And I'd say, what do you think? And he'd say, well, makes a lot of noise for a few seconds or a half a minute. He said, we learned to live with it. And, but, you know, the Guard is indeed a critical part of the economy of the state, does a great job in the community. And I think thinking back to 9/11, when some of the folks that are possibly listening were a whole lot younger, I was extremely thankful we have had the F-16s in place to go out and protect us should anything further have gone wrong. And I heard that directly from pilots who are friends. And so supporting the mission of the Guard is critically important. At the same time, doing everything we can to minimize any negative impacts, whether it's landscaping, noise mitigation, not taking down any more homes, and pushing hard our agenda as South Burlington on the Airport Commission to hopefully get our voices heard. And we've been quite successful at that, really. And so we're in about the best shape we could be with the airport right now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you both very much. David, we'll start the next question with you. South Burlington's had varying degrees of shades of closeness for recent budget votes. Financial viability has been a big focus, clearly, of the taxpayers and voters. What's the biggest part of financial viability for your city? What do you think the most important source of revenue is, and what do you think about the overall financial health?
Well, I think the last budget, the challenge was that the schools were looking for a tremendous amount of money to rebuild essentially the high school complex, and the voters obviously did not think that was appropriate. I agree that was something that was just not timely, and we've got to find a better way. We can't afford taxes that would be impacted to the degree that would have required. You know, financially, we're actually in good shape. Our biggest impact, our biggest challenge is caused by COVID. That's had an impact on our revenue, not so much on the property tax side, which is our primary source of revenue, but certainly on our share of the local options tax, which is several $100,000 a year. When the hotels and restaurants close, that pretty much evaporated. And so budget management is essential to ensuring the stability of the city. And as a counselor, and as a former business owner, and still, my wife still owns a medical practice in the city. You know, I'm very budget conscious, and the city management has done an excellent job at really taking a scalpel to the budget and ensuring that we're spending what we need to spend to do what we need to do to keep the city functioning safely, efficiently, and attractively. You know, keep our roads plowed and our lawns mowed, and all of our public areas looking great. And we'll probably have another challenge in FY22. We pretty much got figured out. I'll give a shout out to Tom Hubbard. He's amazing when it comes to managing the budget. He's been just terrific, as has all of city management. We'll have to do it again in FY23. And I think we'll be able to do that. Economic development is the key to a healthy financial future. We can look to the future of commercial, professional, and residential development in city center, as well as the future potential of the U Mall property is tremendous, as well as projects in progress along both Shelburne Road and Williston Road. So I think a vibrant economy combined with very strict, very sharp budget management will see us through to a continuing fiscal future that is responsible and working for the people of South Burlington, and minimizing tax increases at the same time, because none of us want to do that. And one quick example is of our fiscal management is our pension fund in South Burlington is funded at 90%, which is better than almost any other community you'd find anywhere. And that's just indicative of the financial management of the city by city management overseen by the council. It's great. So we're in a good shape for the future. Thank you.
And David, just as a quick follow-up, and Matt, I'll ask you the same, just in one or two sentences, as South Burlington looks to replace Kevin Dorn on a May timeline, will this be a priority in terms of a set of skills for the next city manager for South Burlington?
It will be. I mean, city managers and assistant managers, as you know, we're replacing both. We'll let the new assistant manager select, and the new manager select the assistant manager, but fiscal understanding and responsibility is absolutely critical. Plenty of towns, as we all know, have gotten themselves in a heap of trouble by not having management that understands the importance of managing their finances. And and our objective is to bring somebody on board probably by April, so that there's a couple of months of overlap with Kevin, with Tom, and bring the assistant manager on hopefully by May, So we've got seamless transition from current management to new management. Everybody's got a right to retire at some point, and we happen to hit both at once. And but we'll be fine for it.
Thank you, David. And Matt, asking the same financial well-being question about the city's financial future and what the most important aspects of that are. And also, please feel free to tag on some additional time at the end to answer that management question as well.
Well, I'd like to answer that first if it's all right, Seth. You know, I think I echo David's comments that losing, I think we're very fortunate to have both Kevin and Tom at the helm managing our city. And they will be very difficult to replace, and there'll be some changeover, and you know, that's what happens, and we wish them well in retirement. But you know, having that overlap is critically important so that the new city manager has time to hire an assistant and make sure that the city stays on its fiscal footing. You know, but your original question, Seth, was about how do we maintain the city's financial viability? You know, having high quality schools, safe and diverse communities, and affordable housing will help make that happen. You know, at the point where people begin leaving the city because they can't afford to live here, you know, we're going to go into a decline, and none of us want that to happen. You know, we all understand the high value of our high quality schools. And of course, this comes with a cost. You know, as city leaders, our goal is to minimize the cost for taxpayers while delivering the best services that residents deserve. The largest and most important source of revenue for the city of South Burlington is property taxes. You know, municipal property taxes represents 2/3 of our general fund. It's about $16 million. Now, this is a municipal tax rate, not the school tax rate. That's separate. But this is vital to paying for our essential services, such as police, fire, schools, snow plowing, recreation. But new development is what generates income from zoning permits, inspections, various impact fees, above and beyond what we raise in property taxes. You know, we are growing, but we're growing slowly at a rate of about 1%, which is less than the 2% anticipated by the Regional Planning Commission and what we may need in order to continue for our community to thrive. You know, ensuring that we put in place smarter development that will grow our grand list, but not add more congestion to our roads, will help keep South Burlington financially sound, and making sure that we have new leadership that will ensure that our hands are on the, making sure that fiscally we're paying attention to how we pay the bills and read a balance sheet.
Thanks, Matt. Can you keep pulling that thread a bit? David mentioned City Center and the mall properties. What would you bring in terms of a vision for that area of South Burlington? Is that the core of that redevelopment and that financial stabilization that occurs through development?
Yeah, you know, it's at this time, Seth, during this pandemic, it's hard to think about shopping and retail, but they really are. These shops, these restaurants, they're the backbone of our community, these small businesses. And I look forward to a time where we can congregate more freely with our masks down and less than 6 feet apart. South Burlington residents deserve a shopping district that's close to home, that's accessible, and you know, really has a wide array of, you know, diverse experiences in shopping that, you know, that are inviting to everyone, not just the few. The plan for the Urban City Center just does that. You know, it's really quite remarkable. Earlier this week, I took a tour of the Library and Community Center, which is nearly complete. I think this area will play a critically important role as we rebuild the connections in our community, when we can lower the medical mask on our face and meet face to face with one another. And I'm very excited for it to reopen, hopefully this summer. You know, while the mall itself feels like a relic, doesn't it? But it also meets an immediate community need we had. It's an indoor downtown. I remember in my campaign last year, I would go there early in the morning, and that's where I would meet so many seniors who would like to walk the mall in order to avoid the slipping on the ice. Most importantly, it represents an opportunity. It may be a relic, but it is also, you know, an opportunity for the future, because it's not located out in some distant cornfield like you see some suburban malls of New Jersey, but it's in the heart of our emerging city center. So there's an opportunity to expand our TIF district boundaries, ensure that this gateway to the city is improved, but we need to get going on this. The clock is running on the TIF, and we need to improve our public infrastructure. This is the key to getting it redeveloped. Of course, it's private property, but we need to be ready. When the opportunity presents itself, we need to take action, ensure that when it is developed, we understand that what our smart development goals are, how we can have mixed use residential homes near retail and commercial space so people can walk, that rather than drive, so we can reduce emissions. I think that is a fantastic opportunity, but it is going to close if we don't act quickly.
And you're supportive then of the new proposed TIF district as well?
I am.
David, same question. You started addressing the mall and city center a bit. Could you keep going down that path?
Sure, and I'll start with the TIF district, expanding the TIF district so that it encompasses all of the city of the Market Street City Center property as well as University Mall. The University Mall property is really only going to work and work well if it's included in the TIF district, which is tax increment financing, which gives more working money to a project in simplest terms. And I think we can. The council is optimistic, working with city management. We can make that happen. And Kevin's been in discussions with the owners of the mall very recently, and they're enthusiastic about doing something creative with the property. As Matt had mentioned, housing, affordable housing, market value housing, retail, commercial, professional space, and recreational space. They mentioned an ice skating rink, an outdoor ice skating arena, and and those have proved to be tremendously popular. And then something exciting that I find really exciting is, as you know, and as folks may know, there's been a discussion about a pedestrian bike bridge over the interstate, bypassing all those dangerous intersections so that the thousands of college students have access to the center of South Burlington. The mall owners are definitely interested in that potentially being a part of the rehab and the redevelopment of the mall. And think how fantastic it would be if we could invite all those college students as Market Street grows, as we develop more businesses, restaurants, boutiques, whatever retail goes into the mall, whatever entertainment and recreation. If we can bring all those college students at full board, you're talking 15,000 college students in the immediate area with a bridge in less than 15 minutes walking. And that would be fabulous. And the owners have expressed interest. And this does have to move quickly because the window of opportunity will close, although the deadline for TIF has been pushed back a year. We've got some time. But as you know, some of these things don't happen quickly. It is a multi-million-dollar project. But I see the mall as part of that center of the city. And indeed, Dorset and Market will be the main intersection in our city. And I think what the future looks like in that area is fabulous. And folks may not know that I was in the legislature and chair of the House Transportation Committee when we rebuilt Dorset Street in the late 1980s. It took a lot of effort to do that, and especially to get the utilities underground. But to me, that was the launch pad for City Center. The only thing is, we envisioned City Center being where it is today 20 years ago. We didn't quite make it, but I'm darn glad we're getting there now. And I know most of the residents of South Burlington are extremely excited about what our future looks like in that area. Absolutely excellent.
And just as a short form follow-up, David, the Southeast Quadrant's gotten a lot of attention in terms of zoning and the bylaws for zoning. How does it look as South Burlington plays out the tension between development and conservation of open space as we move forward? Are we going to see a comprehensive zone rewrite? What's the zoning rewrite? What's this look like?
Well, as you know, as some folks know, the Planning Commission has been working on this for just about coming up on over a couple of years now. We did an interim zoning, if I've got the dates correct. And the concept was that our land development regulations needed modification in order to ensure people look to me, and I think a lot of people think of me as somebody who's a proponent of balance. We're not going to achieve perfection either in development or in preserving every piece of open space. There has to be a balance, and that balance has to be fair to those to the open spaces, which would be the forest blocks and the grasslands and the wildlife corridors and our streams, but also has to be fair to development, because without development, without especially in the Southeast Quadrant, without some more housing, some of which would be affordable housing, our future is in jeopardy. We can't expect to grow the economy of the city unless we have affordable places for people to live. And honestly, one of my concerns is that even what's called market rate housing is becoming unaffordable, and that's just not in South Burlington. That's across the land, across the whole country, and so that's a concern. And so I'm hoping, and I have just seen some, they're looking at adjustments of planned unit developments, which is one form of development of an open piece of property, to ensure that the natural resources would be preserved, but that the landowner, the developer, can make the appropriate amount of money on that piece of property. But in order to have a strong economy, we've got to have development. A strong economy equals a bright future, and we don't have any options there. And I think most people look at me as a proponent of balance. We could get into a long discussion on what the final outcome is going to be, but the Planning Commission hasn't quite finished its work. And even when they do, there will be discussions, negotiations, and compromises that will come to put it in the best possible light we can, so that we ensure we go forward responsibly in everybody's best interest. And I'm 100% confident we can pull that off.
Good. And in the compromise of time, Matt, same topic subject. You've worked on this on the DRB.
Yeah, certainly, Seth. If South Burlington sees itself as a vibrant community 2 decades from now, we have to allow residential development. We can't ban it. Can't ban utility hookups or put in place other hurdles. We can't have interim zoning forever. We need to provide consistency and clarity to our regulations. From my time on the Development Review Board, that is critically important. As chair, I'm well aware of the tension in the Southeast Quadrant where I live. 3 decades ago, this is where city planners determined where South Burlington should grow. And it has happened. But for people that have lived through it, they should know that we're near the end of that process. Keep in mind, half of the Southeast Quadrant currently off limits to development. Of the land that is undeveloped, that's not set aside for open space, our zoning regulations provide significant restrictions where development can go and what it looks like. I know, because I'm the chair of the Development Review Board, and we have to review these projects. There are nearly 200 parcels in the open space report, which is an excellent report everyone should read. But about 70% you can't build on. It's already conserved, part of the natural resource protection area. There's about 8% that's zoned residential. And of that, just 1%, just 2 parcels with over 35 acres of land. There is a balance to maintain, but to think that the development will keep pace of the way it has been for the last 20 years, it's just not going to happen. So we need to think strategically, and we need to place development where we have existing infrastructure, and we can't have gated communities. We need to ensure a mix of housing throughout the city.
Great. I want to give you each 1 minute, and I'm going to hold my hand up when that minute's up because we're running out of time. So I would like to give each of you 1 minute for any closing statements and to touch on anything we didn't get a chance to touch on tonight that you think is really important about your candidacy. And Matt, we'll start with you.
Well, those of us that are fortunate to call South Burlington home, I consider myself and my family in that category. We have absolutely benefited from the volunteers that have come before us. We benefited from those with a foresight to develop this system of roads and infrastructure from, which a city has grown, the second largest by population here in Vermont, from what was a former agricultural community. It's been 75 years since those orchards and dairy farms in South Burlington began to disappear and subdivided, and we are absolutely at an inflection point. Whether we grow or whether we stay static, how that affects our budget, how that affects our quality of life. There are understandably competing goals, inevitably some conflicts. And when they do exist, these conflicts, we rely on volunteers like David, myself, those in the community who care enough to show up, to sort it out, to mediate our differences, to compromise, to negotiate in the effort to reach the best results for the most people. And that's when local government truly works. And I'm thankful for the time that I've spent volunteering for the city, and I'm thankful for the city council appointing me for the Development Review Board, and I'm hopeful the residents of South Burlington will elect me to city council.
David.
Well, it's boy, there's a lot of questions we didn't get to. We needed an hour, but I think vitality is one of the questions we didn't get to, and I see South Burlington as an extremely energetic community. I've been here for a long while, and I honestly haven't seen us make too many mistakes to date, and I don't intend to let us go down the wrong path at any point in time. And we've got tremendous vitality in the community. One example is our pennies for paths. We have one of the best recreation path systems in the state, if not in the country. And pennies for paths is enabling us to improve on that. We are working hard to ensure that our housing going forward is fair, is inclusive, is diverse, meets the needs of all folks. And indeed, as Matt alluded to, mentioned, where we have infrastructure is the most natural places to put housing. and development. I think we talked about the city center. It's going to be spectacular. And you know, one of the questions was, what impact has COVID had? Well, we're living that right now. We're doing a forum on Zoom, and I think some of that technology is going to enable a more inclusive opportunity for South Burlingtonians in the future, because we now know how much we can offer and how much we can do in person and using technology. I think that's going to enable more and more people to be involved. And the more people we have involved, the better it is. And so I think I've been a thoughtful, engaged contributor to the government and management of our city. And honestly, I'd like to keep going for a while longer, because we got a lot in the hopper that I'm dedicated to seeing through to completion. And I think I've done a great job, and I appreciate your continued support. I will thank Matt for the excellent job he's done chairing the DRB. My preference would be that he continue to do that for a while longer.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both for your contributions to your community and your willingness to step up and run.
Thanks very much, Seth.
You bet. Thanks everyone for joining us on Town Meeting Television. Remember, now's the time to check in with your town clerk and come up with a voting plan. So March the 2nd, that first Tuesday in March, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. there will be polls open, but also it's never too early to make a voting plan. Hope you'll tune into more sessions, learn more about what's going to be on the ballot in your town. Thanks for joining us today. And David and Matt, thank you very much. South Burlington's got a difficult choice to make. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us on Town Meeting TV.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Seth. Good night, guys.